Another thing about Wicked is that you are doomed to suffer in this life if you cannot understand that the lesson in that show is that sometimes your white friend literally has to watch you die before they can do the right thing. That's the lesson. Glinda says, I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason with some lesson we must learn. And the lesson she learns is that she has to watch all of her less privileged friends literally die to the government that she has a high seat in before she's able to stand up for the right thing. She has to watch a girl from another nation, another realm, come in and throw a bucket of water on her best friend. Her best friend melts before she's like, damn, someone has to do something, and it might be me. Mind you, she's so lost in the sauce. She's so caught up in the delusions. She's under spells by people who don't even have magic that she sees a bucket of water melt a friend that she saw stand in the rain. And she believes it. You stood in the rain with that girl. But you're so lost. You can't get it through your thick pink skull. This is sci-fi fantasy. The fantasy is the magic. The sci-fi is the wizard inventor who comes from another place on a hot air balloon and steampunk invents things to emulate the magic. That's the sci-fi, right? And what's the function of sci-fi fantasy? It's to create less explicit communications around larger social and political conversations. So when we're talking about an allegory for the rising fascist takeover in a peaceful nation and Glinda's participation in that fascist government that literally has sentenced her friend to death, is seeking to assassinate her for crimes that Glinda knows she did not commit, stabs her friend in the back again and again and again and again, enslaves little birds and mice and whatever to help put a wedding dress on her, knowing that her friend would never stand for some shit like that. We talk about all the ways that Glinda stabbed Elphaba in the back, and you losers get on here and you say, yeah, well, Elphaba stole her fiance that she tried to force into a political marriage. Elphaba stole her man. In the era of girls declarations and pick-me accusations, you saw Glinda working with a government that she knew was trying to wrongfully incarcerate her best friend for crimes that she knew were never committed, and conspire to target the last living relative of that best friend who is wheelchair bound and disabled. And you said, yeah, well, Elphaba did ruin her wedding. That's the largest faux pas in the story for you? Let me guess. You're anxiously attached with low self-esteem. And that's why I've been saying we need to muzzle the anxiously attached people, because enough! You people are pathetic. You disgust me. They really do. That I have to see some shit like that on my timeline. Same thing with Nessa Rose and Bach. I'm talking about Nessa Rose. When do you think Nessa Rose became the kind of person who would weaponize her position in government in order to trap Bach in her life? Do you think it was 1 year in, 2 years in, 3, 4 years in, 5 years in? At what point do you think Bach became attuned enough to be afraid of the retaliations that Nessa Rose would launch against him if he ever tried to leave? And here you people go, he led her on for a long time. Shut up! Shut up! You fool! Shut up! These people, yuck! Sometimes your white friend can only self-actualize by watching you die. That's the lesson, and somehow that's also kind of the lesson in The Outsiders on Broadway, but that's a more niche conversation. Why do you think it is that Elphaba decides that Glinda can never know that she's still alive? She concocts an entire conspiracy, a plot, with double agent Fiyero the Scarecrow, so that Glinda can truly believe that she's dead. You know why? Because Glinda's lesson demands a blood sacrifice, and Elphaba knows that. She doesn't want Glinda to know she's alive, because then she would immediately unlearn the lesson. You get that? That's why. I mean, even in the she says, I'm limited. Just look at me, I'm limited. And look at you, you can do all the things I couldn't do, Glinda. She understands her friend is an egomaniac. She's self-centered. She can't see outside of herself even 2 feet. Elphaba, by the end of the story, wakes up. She figures it out. She cracks the code, and she gets out of there.